Hi all, this is Paras. Namaste to all of you. So, on the occasion of World International Women's Day, I love to share with you 8 powerful women in the field of coaching who have been doing their work inspiring people locally and globally. Yes, 8 powerful faces. So in this video, I'm going to talk to them, want to hear their stories, want to hear their success, want to hear their dreams, and also the strengths, what took them from just not inspiring self, but transforming communities at their own capacity. So are you interested to know and learn more about them? Yes, let's go for it.
Eva built a successful career as a leader in the shipping industry, where she worked for 26 years, holding several executive positions and a seat on the board. Her transition included pursuing a degree in psychology and a coach certification with the Hudson Institute of Coaching in California. Since 2006, she has been coaching leaders in Brazil and worldwide and facilitating training programs in prestigious Brazilian business schools. In 2013, she was trained as a supervisor at the Coaching Supervision Academy and supervises accomplished coaches from all over the world. She likes to think of her work of facilitating better conversations for a better world. Eva lives in Rio de Janeiro and holds an MCC credential from the ICF and the ESI accreditation from the EMCC. So let's meet Eva today and know more about her success stories on the occasion of International Women's Day.
Hi Eva, namaste to you, and I'm so glad to see you. And first of all, let me wish you happy International Women's Day, and thank you for being here and making your presence. You've been my coach supervisor. You are a mentor, supervisor, coach, trainer, and inspiring at a global level through your teachings and trainings. And so I'm just curious to check, what's your story?
Hi, Paras. Namaste. It's a pleasure being here with you, especially today. And congratulations on this initiative to celebrate our day in this fashion. So my story is the story of someone who has started a few chapters. I started my career as a secretary, and then became an executive, and it was all very organic, I think. And then I decided I wanted to study psychology, get a degree in psychology when I was a director in the shipping group, because I realized everything I did that worked well or did not work well was always because of people. So I wanted to understand a little bit more about people. And this led me to conversations. I became a coach, and then a supervisor, a mentor. I'm also a conflict mediator, trainer. And I like to think of myself as someone who's trying to promote better conversations for a better life and a better world.
Lovely. That sounds so meditative to me when I'm listening to it. And just curious to check with you, Eva Hirsch, is it the right way to pronounce it?
Perfect.
Thank you. So when you started, like say 25 years ago, when you started working, how differently do people perceive women those days, and how do you see the difference today? What has changed?
You said 25 years ago?
Yes, the time when you started working and now.
I started working 50 years ago, Paris.
Oh my God, I can't see it, because looking at you, I just felt that maybe 25 years ago. So 50 years ago from that time.
Almost 50 years ago. Well, when I started working in shipping, I told you I was a secretary, but I always liked to learn. So I was very curious and asking questions. And that's why I started a career, because I started learning. But one of the things that happened then was I wanted to go and then see a ship. And I asked, can you take me to a ship? And every day there was a different excuse. And one day I realized these are excuses. So I called one of the managers and I said, tell me the truth. Don't fool me. Why don't you take me to see a ship? And then he said, it's bad luck to have women on board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I made a career as a shipping woman in spite of being considered then to be bad luck. I don't think that exists anymore, but I see that not much has changed actually, other than saying that a woman can't go aboard. I think they would be sued. It would be illegal. But the way women are perceived, I think there's still a lot of room for improvement. And I think we all need to learn to do that better. I include ourselves, women, in the learning curve, to claim our rights in a way that is more effective.
Interesting. So when you talk about women need to learn to become more self-aware by the conversations, by being communicating about what their needs are, what lessons would you like to share for other women from the time that you have been as a coach, mentor, supervisor, trainer? What is that lesson that you would like to share to other women around the world?
There's one behavior that I find all over the world, and that I think is a pattern. Women tend to talk of their work and themselves in a combined manner. And then it seems more difficult to claim their rights when something is not okay, or when they have needs to talk about it, and then they cry. And because they cry, they don't want to be perceived as weak, so they don't talk. And women need to, my advice would be, learn to separate your work and yourself. You're talking about your work, what you have accomplished, what you have delivered, based on which you want more challenges, you want more recognition. Talking about your work makes it easier. That's what I've found. And many clients of mine, by learning to do that, have stepped into a very powerful position, because then talking about work is very easy because they have so much to show, and then they can really own all their achievements and talk about communicate their needs better.
Well, so having said that, a quick question to you is, what does feminism mean to you?
I don't have a reply for that. I knew you were going to ask me that. I think I love being a woman. I think women are different from men. Nature is there, and we're absolutely complementary. I mean, we learn from nature, and it's just owning who we are. Being a feminist, I think, is understanding that you can achieve and accomplish as much as a man can being a woman, and owning your feminine side. I mean, I love my makeup, my jewelry and everything, and I chose the lips here especially for our conversation today. So stepping into our feminine role and making it. It's not either or, it's both and.
Wow. So I really like the way you said about it's not either or, it's just both and. And really thank you for dressing in a way that it could look back to all the women to integrate the feminine part of themselves and feel strong about that. What's my next question is about having that integrated version of women. How is men perception or people perception, let me not generalize to men, what are people perception of women as leaders?
because when I was going through your LinkedIn and your profile, and you work with senior executives, and you work for such a long time with. So what is your story on that? What is your take?
Before we were recording, I told you a story that I'm going to share officially now as we're recording.
Sure, please go ahead.
I think it's a story that really helps illustrate the way we are perceived.
Yes.
And so when I was a leader, at some point I was faced with a huge challenge. It took a lot of courage to do what needed to be done. There were bad behaviors happening in a certain part of the company, and we needed to take care of that. And we did, with a lot of risk. And the team that was working with me in that endeavor was only composed of men. So in the end, as we were celebrating, it was a successful intervention. The way they complimented me, one of them was, he said, "Why, you have such a big penis." and that was the best way he thought of to pay me a compliment for my bravery. But I think it's a great story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because actually he didn't use the word penis. It was another one. You can imagine. But so for men, bravery is still a male attribute. Courage, and it's not. I mean, I just told him, no, I don't. Actually, I have nothing of that sort.
That's an amazing experience. I'm sure. How would that be? I could imagine being there with so many men and just voicing out. So what?
But I was laughing because he was trying to pay a compliment, and it's the best he could think of. So in their mindset, that if it takes a penis to be brave.
And the whole the frame of reference is about the penis and being brave is so much connected.
Yeah.
So what is the true essence for being a brave woman? What is your take?
It's first having brave conversations, but it's bravery. It's for men and women. I don't think you can separate it. No, it's just taking risks. Perhaps one thing for women, yes. Studies show that when man applies for a new position, if he feels that he's 70% ready, he will apply for it.
Okay.
Because he knows that people are hired by their potential and not because they know everything. Now, women usually will not apply if they don't feel 100% ready. And that actually was my case too. So perhaps for women, one aspect of being brave is if you're 60 or 70% ready, go for it, girl.
I think that's a very brave message that you're giving. Is to go for it. It's just to take a leap of faith and take that risk and see what happens. A whole new universe for you. So,
yeah, you can't have success without risk taking. It doesn't exist.
I can absolutely believe that, and I think it makes a lot of sense of risk taking and success. So I also read that you're a solopreneur. So very curious to check. How did you build your courage while making path-breaking decisions in your life?
You know, I don't think at that time I knew I was being brave. I was just following a lot of my intuition. And I think not being paralyzed by fear, that would be the best answer. Was I afraid? Yes. I deliberately decided. I was a director, quite well paid, and I decided I don't want to work full time anymore. I want to study. And then at some point I said, I don't want that anymore. I want to start something different. I didn't know what it was. It actually took me 7 years to find out, and it was coaching.
Wow.
But I was searching for 7 years. And then when I got to Santa Barbara for my certification and I heard Pam McLean talking, and I said, wow, I arrived. So for 7 years, I was just moving, moved by a voice that was bigger than myself and by a certainty. But I was afraid, and people thought I was crazy. People will tell you you're crazy when you are being an entrepreneur. It's only after you're successful then they'll give you another word. But as you are trying, it's always a crazy act to give up something else and to take risks.
True. And I think it's such a brave step to leave that high-flying job and taking up something what you really want to do in your life that adds more purpose and meaning. So,
I think, going back to your question, perhaps one of the aspects that gave me courage was to really sit with myself and say, I'm unhappy. I used to be happy, but it's no longer there. The happiness and joy are no longer there. So why should I stay here? And really understand that if you're not happy and it's not temporary, it's just on and on, you have to move on. Things, sometimes they're wonderful for 10 years, 20, but then no longer, you have to move on.
So what I infer from your dialogue is, or conversation is, that change is constant. So you need to keep constant check whether are you really happy doing what you are, and take that step if it's not making you feel happy and content with that particular work. Do something different and go for it.
Absolutely. And then I think going back to your first question, a little bit of my story, I don't know who I am. The name of my company is Phoenix, right?
Yes.
And I like to look at myself as a phoenix. And it takes destroying, it takes the ashes, it takes the dying to be reborn with different colors. And I love the myth of the phoenix because of the possibility of being reborn with different colors every day. But it takes risks and it hurts.
Yes.
I'm preparing for a transition again. And I tell you, it's very scary and it hurts and it's not a nice place to be. Right now, I feel I'm in a tunnel. Sometimes it's dark, narrow. Keep moving.
Yeah. I remember in one of your conversations, you talking to me about that, Paras, the light is within you, just enlight it, just press that button and you don't need to worry about it. And I remember that, and I think it adds up a lot of value today when people are stuck, when a lot of women who are stuck in the critical voice in their head saying that the role conflict of what you should do versus what you can do, what you love to do, what you want to do. I think just having that patience and consistent in walking and switching that light would add more value to people and a lot of men and women around the world.
Yeah, but there's one thing that I've learned, also going back to being courageous and my transition right now. There are people who just jump, and I don't do that. And the way that has worked for me, and I'm not saying it's the universal way, which is the way that I've worked with my transitions, is creating stepping stones and testing the waters. So you don't have to change everything, but just to create something different, test it, do it in parallel. It takes work, yes. You're tired, yes. You'll work more, yes. But to create something takes that kind of energy. So you can start little by little. It's, as I said, stepping stones and testing and come back. You don't have to go at once.
So, so with this kind of steps, when people take it, they are sure about what they're doing, and they can also take a little pause if things are not going well. Very interesting and very illuminating conversation that I'm having with you, Eva. Trust me. So, as I know that you have told me that we have short of time, so I'm just curious to check one more question, if you can, if you're okay about that, I can ask you.
Absolutely, yeah, we still have time.
There are a lot of men and women who are watching your video, who are learning from today and getting to balance their yin-yang energy, getting to balance their self, learning more about your entrepreneurship and the meaning of brave and courageous in today's world. So what is your guru mantra, one message that you would like to share with them that they can keep in mind always moving in their journey forward wherever they want to make it?
We talk a lot about our differences. Let's start talking about our similarities. We're human beings. And we need each other, men and women. I mean, that's how nature created us. We talked about it in the beginning. And yes, there are differences, but there are so many similarities. We share the same emotions. The way we go about them is different. And I think we need better conversations. I'm a huge fan of nonviolent communication, as I said before. We just need to build empathy for better conversations and talk about our emotions and talk about our needs. First, let's start looking at what we have in common. We are working together to create a better world. So we are parents of children for whom we need to leave a better world, or grandparents for children. So we have so much in common, and we have a lot of work to do in this world.
Wow. I think it's so powerful and so clear to have very open communication, I think, and empathy. I think I absolutely believe that having open communication, empathy can change things around and change not just self and the family, but the whole system at large. So Eva, your story is so inspiring and so much of openness and being so humble that you shared so many insights and being very straightforward when sharing certain situations of your life experiences. How can people reach you? What is a way, if people want to connect to you, how they can connect to you?
So the website for my company is phoenixcoach.com.br, because I live in Brazil, in Rio. You can find me on LinkedIn, Eva Hirsch Pontes. One go.
Okay.
One.
Lovely.
Are you going to put that, to make it easier?
I will definitely be adding up on the subtitles as well, so it will be helpful for people to reach out to you. But thank you, Eva. Once again, I would love to wish you happy International Women's Day, and it's an honor to have you. And thanks for sharing your rich experience.
Thank you very much again for the invitation, and happy International Women's Day to all women on this planet. Thank you very much, Paris.
Thank you, Eva.